John Lennon's Auntie Mimi Smith.
Well, I'd battled against it, for quite a long time. I didn't want him wasting his college time and missing lectures by wasting his time playing the guitar. Whereas his training would lost. These things come and go. They're playing a guitar 1 week, everybody's clamouring for them, then they disappear. Nobody ever hears of them again. And then what was I going to do if I had a boy of 21 thrown back on my hands, qualified for nothing? Well, he's a bit like yourself, a soft soaper. And he'd pick me up, and kisses on the cheek. Maybe can I have a guitar? And he hadn't any money to get a guitar. There was only me could buy him one. And I remember we went to Liverpool, and we went into a guitar shop. They were all over the place. I didn't know anything about them, so he chose one, and it was £17. I knew they had something, but nothing. Nobody expected this. It was a shock to them too. Oh, he'd nip down weekends, well, I couldn't say any day. Suddenly there'd be a whirlwind, and he'd come in. But it was usually if the pressure was getting a bit much, and he'd come down here and do cartwheels on the beach by himself, nobody else there. Until one time one of the ferrymen must have noticed who it was. And the next thing, the TV cameras were up here. So I was annoyed, and he said, "Oh, Mimi, you mustn't be annoyed." He said, "Really?" He'd probably get £5 for ringing up, and saying that I was down here. Sometimes we'd be talking about current affairs and how the pound was going up and down, and that sort of thing. And another time he'd be reminiscing about his childhood. The funny things, because I was always chasing him, I knew what he was up to before. What he could not make out was how I knew when he was up to something.
Mrs. Smith on John and Yoko's 1969 Bed-In for Peace.
I certainly did. I just found him, telephoned him, and I said, "That's enough. Thank you, we've had enough. Keep that lock for the music hall." Well, although he rebelled and said, I'm not going to do as you tell me, but he always did.
Mimi on meeting Yoko Ono.
I've met her in London, and I've met her once down here. That was in the early days when he brought her. Well, I didn't know what it was all about. I wondered who it was. And I said, "Who's this?" And he pushed his head, "It's Yoko." But I didn't think anything of it, But I did say, "What do you do for a living?" to her. She said, "I'm an artist." I said, "That's very funny. I've never heard of you."